but.
I can confirm I see it.
Okay, cool. Well, greetings. I think if I power through this presentation without any stops, it would be 40 minutes or so, but I hope there are questions. I like questions. And we'll see how this goes. In the next 40 minutes or so, very briefly, I'm going to touch on these topics as they relate to North Carolina's bottlenose dolphins. This poster represents, as of 10 years ago when it was published, all the cetaceans on Earth that were known. Cetacean is a taxonomic term that refers to whales, dolphins, and porpoises. Facing to the right are the baleen whales that lack teeth, and they have baleen that hangs from the upper jaw that they use to feed. Facing to the left are toothed whales. Hey, do you know what the biggest animal on Earth is? And if you wondered if it was a blue whale, you're right. But here's a fun fact. The biggest animal on Earth is a girl, because in blue whales, girls are bigger than boys. Toothed whales are facing to the left. But here's the cool thing about this poster. I'm going to circle every one that we've documented in North Carolina. And there it is, and it's 34 species, and I'm not bragging. I would work hard to prove me wrong, but I am pretty sure that's more than any other state. The only one I'm going to talk about today, technically a small toothed whale, is the bottlenose dolphin. Hope that makes sense. This is a bottlenose dolphin. I just want to mention a few external anatomy terms that I'll be using. The tail is often called the flukes. Pectoral fins or flippers, they have two of them, homologous to our arms. Dorsal fin, you're about to learn more about a dorsal fin than you ever wanted to know. Blowhole, unlike you and I or terrestrial mammals, they can't breathe through their mouths, so all of the air exchange goes through the blowhole.
Oh, you see mine on arms right now. I thought walking around.
Oh, Christine, mute yourself maybe.
Sorry.
The beaker rostrum is the mouth region, the tip of the snout, or the snout. And between the blowhole and the rostrum is the melon. It's an organ that's a mostly fatty tissue that I think everyone agrees is used to focus and amplify sound. And I want to mention that because hopefully if this works, I'm going to play a little sound clip. And this is a good shot of an open blowhole of a bottlenose dolphin surfacing, taking a breath. Big exhale, big inhale, and then it's going to go underwater and do its dolphin thing. And this is a sort of slide that will open up for questions. And should anyone have a question, I think the method is to type it in, and Christine will relay it to me. And this will show up periodically in the talk. A few things, well, that surprised me, and maybe you weren't aware of it, is that dolphins were hunted off North Carolina beaches. And they weren't hunted just by North Carolinians for subsistence. New Englanders came down and set up camp. Europeans came over to set up camp to kill North Carolina's bottlenose dolphins, mainly for the lower jaw oil. Why North Carolina? Why bottlenose dolphins? Why lower jaw oil? And there's good reasons for all those. The timeline on the bottom highlights when the dolphin, well, it was called the porpoise fishery. Actually, if you wanted to learn more about this, it'd be very confusing because all literature, scientific and historical, refer to it as North Carolina's porpoise fishery. But I want to emphasize to you that they aren't fish and they weren't porpoises. Every picture I've seen, like I'm showing here, clearly they are bottlenose dolphins. But I'll get to that later. Netting seemed to be the major way to harvest them, but harpooning was used as well. And this is one of the very few photographs documenting the kills, all bottlenose dolphins, as far as I can tell. And the uses, well, there are a lot of uses, but the main thing I want to highlight is the lower jaw oil, which historian John Hare told me was the most valuable per ounce product in the entire global whaling industry. Why? What's up with that? And I have some dolphin jaw oil here. And a very interesting thing happened when I put a bunch of oils in the freezers. Earth oil, coconut oil, blubber oil, melon oil, lots of oils. And the only one that did not get hard was the dolphin jaw oil. So its value was, it didn't get hard in cold climates or when used on aeronautical equipment or guns or sewing machines or Swiss watches. So that's what made the dolphin jaw oil so valuable. This shows some of the camps, and if you live around Carteret County, you'll see that most of the camps were right around here. The stars highlight the locations of the dolphin hunts. And I'll just stop for a sec to see if anyone wants to chime in with a question. Don't be shy.
Keith, we had a question come
Okay.
through Facebook about how long can a dolphin hold its breath?
I think Navy experiments pushed a dolphin to 3 minutes for a bottlenose dolphin trained. Typically, it's much less than that in the wild when we're observing them, one breath every 10 seconds for 2 or 3 breaths, then a dive, and 30 seconds to a minute, they come up again. But thanks for asking. I think the record by a dolphin called Tuffy was around 3 minutes, I believe.
And I have a second question.
Okay.
Have you ever run a sample of the jaw oil through a GC to see what the molecular structure is?
No, let's do it. I don't even know what you're talking about, but it sounds interesting.
That'd be very cool.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's all that I've come through.
Okay. So my wife and I in the 70s were surfers and sailors, and we had some what we thought were really basic questions. Like, what are those things breathing air with dorsal fins that are swimming around the coast and the estuary? And are they here year round? They seem like pretty simple questions, and we couldn't get the same answer from fishermen, and we couldn't get the same answer from scientists. Some called them dolphins, some called them porpoises. Some said they're here year round. Some said, no, they're only here in this season. And that launched a little study in the 80s where we started taking pictures of their dorsal fins to try to recognize individuals. And I'm going to walk you through some of that. But this is a dolphin just coming to the surface to take a breath. And so what you're seeing is it's expelling air out of its blowhole before it exposes its blowhole and inhales and takes a breath. And those dorsal fins that you see are like a fingerprint to us. And in any wildlife study, if you want to count individuals or learn about associations or migratory endpoints of groups of individuals, you need to distinguish one from another. And for dolphins, we use their dorsal fins, and it's a process called photo identification. So meet onion and butterfly. We first photographed onion, I think, in the late 80s, but this is an early photo of them together, onion and butterfly. Whenever we saw them, wherever we saw them, they were side by side, just about breathing each other's breath. If you saw one and you didn't see the other, wait 10 seconds. It'll show up. They represent life mates. That was 92. Almost 20 years later, butterfly and the onion, again, side by side. We could recognize them more easily than any other dolphins, and we could get photos to verify who they were. And they have an interesting pattern. Not only do they hang out together, but they Their winter sightings were always in the Beaufort area, and we never saw them in the summer. And in the summer, they went by different names, but in Roanoke Sound, Nags Head Dolphin Watch and then the Center for Dolphin Research, Outer Banks Center for Dolphin Research have documented them, and they spend their summers in Roanoke Sound. They are tight. Think about why. Parent offspring, siblings, pair of dudes, male, female. I'll get to that in a sec. I just have a few geeky slides, graphics like this, but I just want to highlight an interesting thing we've learned because of photo ID. And I don't care if you read the text, just want you to see the colors. Down the left side of the table is a year. I think it's a 20-year period. And then the month is across the top. We're on the water year-round, photographing dolphins, and the blue squares are when we have documented onion and therefore butterfly and the others they hang out with. And the white squares are when we haven't. So the pattern emerged is that onion, butterfly, and many others were winter dolphins around Beaufort, and this pattern is just predictable and typical with very few exceptions. Oh, it's keyhole, so it must be summertime in Beaufort. Why? Because there's another group of dolphins that spend the summer here, and they aren't any of the ones that spend the winter here. And I'm representing that group of keyhole here. He's showing off some dreadlocks. Those are some barnacles that often attach to the dorsal fins on top. And a couple pictures of keyhole, 18 or 19 years apart. His dorsal fins changed. There's an injury left over from a satellite tag that was placed on him. And on the right picture, you see that. And you also see the remnants of a freeze brand. But it's the colors again that I want to show you. And it's present here in the warm water months and not present in the cool water months. And if you put them side by side, we've answered one of our first questions. Do we have dolphins year round? And you can see, I hope, that any month of the year, you're likely to see dolphins just by showing you these two. It's just that they are not the same individuals as far as we can tell, which is fascinating. And we could have not learned that without photo ID. Hope that makes sense. Got a call from Karen Clark that a fresh dead dolphin was washed ashore at Kill Devil Hills. I can tell by this picture, it's really skinny. She said, hang on, Keith. It might have a good dorsal fin. I'll go over there and I'll send you the picture of the dorsal fin, see if you know it. And that's the dorsal fin of the dead dolphin. No mistake about it. It's Onion's life mate, Butterfly. That's a picture of Butterfly alive. So maybe you can play photo ID and help me verify that, yes, no question about it, it is the same individual dolphin we've known so well is now dead. Karen did a necropsy, which is an autopsy on a non-human, on the beach, and in the stomach were pieces of monofilament line. Because there are knots, I can say that this is a part of a gill net, a monofilament gill net. Ingesting trash is a problem, a conservation issue that affects bottlenose dolphins and many other species. Kim Murian runs a catalog called the Mid-Atlantic Bottlenose Dolphin Catalog, if you can believe that exists. And she does a great job, and we all collaborate well with her. And she's taking all of our photos and all of our data and producing charts like this. So you can see here in Beaufort, we have matches to Nags Head Dolphin Watch and the other groups. We have matches to the Virginia Aquarium. Those are our winter dolphins that go up there for the summer and they come back here for the winter. We have matches, like lots of them, around the Wrightsville Beach, Cape Fear area. And those are our summer dolphins that spend the winters down in this area of where it says UNCW, because they're doing photo ID there. And that's not much of a migration. And I don't know what drives it, but it happens to be very predictable. And there's this one dolphin that we've documented all the way from the Indian River Lagoon up to Cape May, New Jersey. He's the renegade. He seems to break all the patterns in a Dolphin 56. But that's not typical. So I hope that makes sense. Questions? Comments?
Keith, they did want to clarify that when they mentioned the GC to see what the molecular structure was of
Oh,
the
thanks.
jaw oil, they meant now I hope I'm saying this right, gas.
Chromatography.
Yes. Now, I'm glad you knew that word.
Yes, no, I've heard of it, and yeah, no, it'd be fun. And I've got the oil. I'd like to also do the same thing with spermaceti from the head of a sperm whale, and I've got that too. So get in touch. Let's play. Thanks. Okay. So this is the more than you ever wanted to know about a dorsal fin part. What is a dorsal fin on a bottlenose dolphin for? And if you say for steering or stability, you're probably right. But Ann Paps and Bill McClellan and a few other colleagues of theirs have demonstrated that as much as anything or more, it is a heat exchanger. It helps this mammal maintain body temperature that every mammal has to do. And it does it by conserving or radiating heat. I look at this dorsal fin, and my educated guess from what Ann and Bill have taught me is that it is conserving heat because the veins in the dorsal fin are collapsed. What? Okay, I'm gonna try to walk you through this. Pretend it's a dead dolphin, and I'm gonna cut off the dorsal fin. So the purplish circles represent veins just under the skin. These veins, if you can see my pointer, I hope you can. And inside the dorsal fin are structures that look like this with an artery in the center and surrounded by veins. So when a dolphin wants to dump heat, the blood goes up the dorsal fin and it returns in these peripheral veins under the skin, thereby dumping heat into the water. If it wants to conserve heat, those those veins under the skin collapse. The blood returns in the veins in the center of the dorsal fin, conserving heat. Woo! Now I'm going to show you real. That is a dorsal fin of a bottlenose dolphin that I cut off a fresh, dead, stranded individual. I'm going to blow up that section that I just put a square around. And boom, there you see it in real. Vein under the skin, close to the surface, veins surrounding an artery. It gets wilder than that. They've traced these veins and they've demonstrated that they actually wrap around the testes in males, thus keeping the testes cool because they don't have scrotums like we humans do. And apparently a mammal can't create viable sperm at body temperature testes, so they have to cool their testes. This is how they do it. And in females, they wrap around the uterus because a developing embryo and fetus temperature is critical. So the dorsal fin is a heat exchanger and has lots of reproductive implications as well. That is a brainful. I hope that made sense. A friend of mine, Forrest, X-rated dorsal fin so that I could emphasize that there are no bones in the dorsal fin, but it's highly vascular. Occasionally, dolphins are very active at the surface and even acrobatic and aerial, like this picture off Cape Lookout and this picture off Shackelford. Now, I'm not sure what's going on here, but the dolphin in the water is about to get a 6-foot body slam from a 400-pound mammal. And that dolphin in the air that's looking at us landed on that dolphin. I don't know if it's aggression, affection, communication, what it means, but they seem to play rough occasionally. What's that? Besides my happy fisherman friend, Greg. That's a mahi-mahi, also called dorado, also called dolphin fish. Has a few other names. If you see dolphin on the menu, at least in this country, this is what you're eating. Fun to catch, tasty to eat. I think it's relatively well managed and sustainable. And because these are called dolphins, the mammals are often referred to as porpoises. You might be walking down the beach or visiting Fort Macon or Cape Hatteras, and someone says, "Oh, look at the porpoises offshore." I've been plying the waters for 40-something years. I've never seen a live porpoise in North Carolina, and I've been looking. So what we're seeing are not porpoises. I don't care if you correct anyone, but we're seeing bottlenose dolphins. Porpoises, the only porpoise we have on the East Coast is a harbor porpoise, and they generally range north of us. That's a harbor porpoise. Smaller dorsal fins, smaller overall, very blunt rostrum, no prominent beak like the bottlenose dolphin. Their range is different. Their diet, behavior, reproduction are different. Part of their anatomy is different. A lot of their anatomy is different. Their teeth are different. So they're very different. Taxonomically, they're in a different family. It's a harbor porpoise. And mostly in Dare County, mostly the month of February, we see dead ones come ashore. I think they're all juveniles, both sexes. But again, not seen a live porpoise in North Carolina. Stephanie, our graphics whiz at the Maritime Museum, created this for me to be able to describe what I'm trying to describe. It just shows a bottlenose dolphin overlaid on it as a harbor porpoise. Overlaid on that is a mahi-mahi or dorado or dolphin fish. So this really helps me explain the differences. We are working in the Bonehenge Whale Center, where I'm sitting now, on skeletons of both a bottlenose dolphin and a harbor porpoise. They're both juvenile females, I think. And I just wanted to present this to show you the difference in the teeth, which are very different. The porpoise teeth are sort of flat and spatula shaped, and the dolphin teeth are very conical. I worked at SeaWorld for a while in San Diego in the 80s. And while I was there, biologists went down to Chile and captured some Commerson's dolphins and brought them back. And they did not know that 2 of them were pregnant. So while these Commerson's dolphins were in captivity, while I was working at SeaWorld, one gave birth. And this is a picture of it. And what we would call a breech birth is actually normal in cetaceans, where the tail comes out first. That seems to be normal and healthy. 5 days later, this is the 5-day-old young baby boy nursing through mammary slits on either side of mom's genital opening, from which he was expelled 5 days earlier. Mom's tail is there. Mom's tail is there. Her head is up, beyond the right side of the slide. As far as I could tell, and I did look at this very carefully, the newborn would open its mouth, stick out its tongue, and slip it in mom's mammary slit, presumably to stimulate her to squeeze. And everything from the biggest blue whale to the little harbor porpoise or Commerson's dolphin, just like you and I, get most of their nutrition in the first year of life through nursing. And this is how it's done. Stole my oath nutter. So I've mentioned some mammalian characteristics. Warm-blooded, bear live young, nurse their young. What's another mammalian characteristic? You got this. Hair. But of course, dolphins don't have hair, right? Wrong. You can win a bet at a bar on this one. That's a young dolphin that came ashore dead, and they have mustaches, clearly hair. Large whales I've seen it on as well. These hairs get absorbed, the follicles are still present for a while, but they do have hair, another mammalian characteristic. I hope you can see that. Danielle Waples over at Duke took my favorite picture of a newborn next to its presumed mom. The newborns are very bouncy. They're generally dark. Poor muscle tone behind the skull. These vertical lines, often referred to as fetal folds, they represent creases when it was curled up in mom's uterus a few weeks ago, in this case. That's a newborn dolphin. So going back one slide, if we see something like this, we make the assumption not only that the adult is a female, but that the adult is the mom. For dads, parental care, as far as we can tell, ends at conception. They don't even send checks. They are just deadbeat dads, every one of them. And the young are raised by the moms and grandmoms and aunts and sisters, and so on, in what we call nursery groups. So identifying a male is a little tougher, unless you get a dolphin that actually gives you a dolphin version of a moon and displays his anus and his genital opening. And if there's a space between the two openings, then it's a male. And if it's a one long slit, it's a female. So probably no big deal to any of you, but it is exciting to us that we can identify a male without having to tag it or biopsy it or capture it. And it's upside down mooning me and displaying its dorsal fin, which is just too unlikely to happen. And that dorsal fin happens to be in our catalog, so we know the individual. Now we know the individual is a male. So there. And this is the X-rated portion of the show. What you think you're seeing is really what you're seeing. They mate belly to belly. They can only mate belly to belly. I've seen it in the wild. It's hard to really document, but I've seen it a couple times. Seen it in captivity. And the way it works is this. The male, and this isn't a presumed male because his penis is showing, I can with confidence tell you that's a male. And he turns upside down and he attempts to mate with a female. But if she's not receptive, has a headache, not in the mood, whatever, she will turn upside down, thus not presenting her belly to the male, thwarting an attempt to mate. It's more complicated than that, but that's in general what's going on. This male probably has a life mate, kind of like the onion butterfly thing, where the males actually assist each other in gaining sexual access to the females. If she's receptive, he, upside down, underwater, attempts to mate with her and she stays upright, thus allowing for copulation, possibly conception. Don't know for sure, but this could be the buddy of that one. And this is how mating occurs. Gestation period is about 12 months in bottlenose dolphins. And we've learned that the birth peak around here seems to be April and May. In fact, next month is April. In general, in April, we will find a few dead baby dolphins on the beach before we start seeing live, presumably healthy ones next to adults. So my wife, Vicki Thayer, put this together for me. It sort of summarizes everything I've mentioned about the social structure, where moms and calves with other females in nursery groups raise the young. Haven't mentioned yet, but as they mature, the moms get pregnant again. Those juveniles join mixed sex groups, pretty large groups, pretty rambunctious groups. Think middle school. And then as they mature, the males pair or occasionally triplet up. We have a question mark there because we're really not clear. We haven't demonstrated this clearly that the females return to their nursery groups, but we suspect that's what happens. And And then that's about a 12-month gestation period. I hope that makes sense. So I got this call from a local ferry captain and then from someone else of a dolphin swimming around downtown Beaufort here with a bag over its head, or someone said it's pushing around in an inner tube. Well, I had no idea what to expect, and but I did get some volunteers and some colleagues on the water to keep a lookout, and we went out looking for it, and we found it. And this is what we found. And I couldn't tell what's going on. And I know it's going to become an oh wow moment to you viewing this. There's no question about it. That is a young dolphin being pushed on the rostrum of an adult. And the young dolphin's blowhole is right there facing us. Veterinarians have stared at this with me, and they are quite certain it's an expelled fetus. It had not taken a breath yet. No muscle tone, tiny in size. I've seen this several times. And yeah, it happens. And so the presumed mom will push around and abandon any advantage to group living to push around the carcass of a deceased offspring. She did have a very distinct dorsal fin, and we knew her. And within 18 months later, she gave birth again. So she was back in the mom role, and we had a little celebration. Woo, that was a lot. I hope some of it made sense. I'll pause for questions if there are any. Okay. Maybe I'm making sense. Imagine that. All right, so acoustics.
Keith, I'm sorry.
No problem.
There was one question through Facebook.
Yeah, gladly.
They had a question about the earlier discussion with onion and butterfly.
Yes.
And they wanted to know specifically onion. Has onion been spotted in Beaufort this year or in the fall winter timeframe of 2020?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yes, the rogue found another life mate that we assume is a male. and so for 2 or 3 years, we saw onion with this same other adult dolphin with this distinct dorsal fin, presumably a male. Onion's up there in age. I mean, 40 something. That's old age for a male dolphin. Girls live in their 50s. And then last winter, I believe, was the first winter we did not see onion. No alarm. It's just possible that we weren't in the same little patch of water together and he was here. But last summer, Nags Head Dolphin Watch and Outer Banks Center for Wildlife Research, and we were up there last summer too looking for onion, and we couldn't find him. So thanks for asking. I'm kind of fearing he may be gone or change different behavior, travel patterns, but we are looking for onion, and he's easy to ID, and there's a look-alike, but we have not seen onion in over a year. Haven't seen him this winter, and I get the dorsal fin photos of all the dead dolphins in North Carolina and beyond. So we don't have evidence that he's died. I hope that answers that.
I think so. And I think you may have answered the second question we have, which is, do the males and females have different lifespans?
Yes, they seem to. And this is known not so much from our study. I say best known from Randy Wells' Sarasota dolphin study through Mote Marine Lab. An old girl would be in her 50s. I think the record is in her 60s. Boys, an old man would be in his 40s. I don't know if they're an adults, males that have lived in their 50s, but there's reasonable reason to think that most of them died in their first year for a variety of reasons, which is another lecture. But so if they get through their first year, yeah, they've got a much better chance of surviving into adulthood. So girls live longer than boys. Cool.
Cool. I don't see any other questions posted at this time.
You're doing great. Thanks for checking. I would be overwhelmed if I had to like read something on the screen.
Glad that.
Oh, see what I'm holding up. This is a Dolphins skull. And the melon sits here between the blowhole and the tip of the rostrum. And graphically on my slide, it's clearly represented. And there are air sacs in the vicinity of the blowhole that are used to create sound as far as we know. That sounds a lot like a dolphin, and I just was squishing air under my tongue. And the sound is projected forward against this like parabola of a portion of the skull. And the melon, I think everyone agrees, is used to manipulate that sound. Might be other purposes to the melon, but it actually changes shape, much like a magnifying glass can focus and amplify light. The melon can focus and amplify sound. I'm gonna flip the skull upside down. It's right side up now. We're gonna flip it upside down. And I'm gonna point to the two ears. That's one, that's the other. I've never attempted this on Zoom before. I have no clue if it's working. The jaws, the lower jaws, the mandibles fit like that. Unique. In-toothed whales are hollow lower jaws that are filled with the oily tissue, the oil that I mentioned, and it's believed that the sound, or most of it, is received through the lower jaw to the ears, and those megaphones of an opening of a lower jaw just funnel the sound right to the ears. Okay, I'm building up to something here. I really hope this works. I put a hydrophone in the water on a winter day, about 17 dolphins, and I'm gonna play a 20-second sound clip. I want you to listen for pulsed sounds like clicks or like a squeaky screen door, referred to as echolocation, kind of used like sonar to perceive its environment. Listen for whistles, flowing sounds. One use, I think everyone has learned, agrees that is a signature whistle. One dolphin will emit the same whistle to identify itself through most or all of its life. There are other sounds, clicks and groans and squawks that I just have no idea what they are. I think this group started to feed during this brief recording, so let's just hear what it sounds like. And really, if your speakers are adjusted and you can hear it, don't hesitate to close your eyes and really listen, because this is quite a repertoire. Hope it works.
Keith, I'm not hearing. Oh, sorry. Keith, I'm not hearing anything quite yet.
Oh, I'm hearing it loud and clear.
Under share screen, did you click share computer sound?
No, I will try. Okay, I didn't do that yesterday. I don't see where to share computer sounds.
Okay, so if you
Go ahead.
click share screen, just the little arrow, it should say something like advanced sharing options. No,
Nope.
I'm sorry. When you click share screen, and you know where that screen pops up and it has the multiple screens that you could share, like your PowerPoint, whiteboard, iPad.
Yes.
Bottom left, it says share computer sound. Click that little square,
Wow, you're good.
and then you can
And do
go
it
back
again.
and do it again.
Ah, thank you. I would be very sad if people didn't get to hear this. All right. think that might have worked? I hope that worked.
It worked. I was able to hear it on my end.
Great. I call that the Dolphins' greatest hits because every sound I ever heard him make is in that little sound clip. So there you have it. I just briefly want to introduce you to our North Carolina Marine Mammal Stranding Network, where many of the specimens on, all the specimens on display at the Maritime Museum or that we're working on here in Bonehenge come through, and we are participants. And the organization listed on this slide are the ones that take a leadership role in the stranding network. So we get the calls of every dead or dying or entangled marine mammal in North Carolina, which could be one of 4 species of seals. It could be a manatee, or as I mentioned, it could be one of 34 species of cetaceans. But most of what we see are bottlenose dolphin that is shown here on Shackleford Banks. Of all the causes of death we can determine, the most common one is entanglement. Entanglement in our trash or in working fishing nets or lines occasionally. And this is during attempted rescue. This is a very young dolphin, horribly entangled, that died in my arms in front of its mom. And the veterinarian said over my shoulder that it was nothing we could have done for it because of this fishing line had cut through the lower jaw into the spinal cord, and it was horribly disabled. Another case of a dolphin, this one entangled in a monofilament gill net, not line from a reel, as in the previous slide. Here's a young male dolphin that had a short, painful life. It came ashore on Roanoke Sound. Show you a close-up of the head. And it had been entangled for a long time, and it's very clear there's a lot of swelling, a lot of infection. The line had cut into the skin in the upper and lower jaw and displaced teeth. Bear with me, I'll get over these quickly, but I mean, this is just an important message to share. And both pectoral fins became entangled at a later date in a different monofilament gill net. It wasn't until we prepared the skull and took it out of the maceration tank that we were using to get the flesh off the skull where it became an oh wow moment, because those cuts in the upper jaw, I mean, those aren't bone being cut by line. That is bone of a fast growing mammal growing around the entangling line that was killing it. And we left the line in the injuries to preserve the chance of being able to demonstrate this. And that's what this is. And veterinarians have studied this with me, and we believe that it became entangled when it was very young, around 6 months old, still nursing, and it lived for about a year before it finally succumbed with an empty stomach on the shores of Roanoke Sound. Propeller strikes, not a common cause of death. This is one of 2 that I've ever heard of documented around here. One propeller strike cut into the brain, the other one cut the front of its rostrum off. Happened to be a dolphin we knew pretty well, actually, but that's not a common cause of death. This is an interesting case right downtown Morehead City. I think Ben Wonderly of the Maritime Museum curiously saw a dolphin swimming around the night before in Calico Creek. Morning, we got the call, 6th Street, there was this fresh dead dolphin. There's a shark bite there, there's a shark bite there, but the one that did it in is right there at the lower jaw. And me and a volunteer went and got the carcass, and I took it to the seafood shop to Chris Conklin because he loves everything marine. And he said, Keith, when you necropsy this, look for teeth. I said, well, it's got a jaw full of teeth. What are you talking about? He said, no. Some sharks leave teeth, others don't. And if you can find a tooth, it'll help you narrow down what species of shark, and it can identify the species. Well, who'd believe it? Boom. I found a tooth in the injury, and no question about it, tooth from a white shark, which is the same as a great white shark. And also in the tip of the jaw was that. What is that? This was in the bone, in the tip of the jaw, and it's a stingray barb. This poor young dolphin, as far as I can tell, died in a whole lot of pain. But anyway, lots of causes of death. This is a horrible picture, but it's a good story. It ends well. The good folks down in South Carolina actually documented this young dolphin. I don't know why. Every live entangled dolphin I've seen is young. And this one, that line was getting tighter and tighter every day. There it is again. But they launched a rescue, were able to cut the line off, mark the dolphin so it could be recognized, and it continued life. And so I interpret that as a success story. We often are not successful, so we cling to the few successes that we managed to eke out, like this one. Thank you, Elizabeth Moses and team. But all this entanglement talk has led us to start the North Carolina monofilament recovery and recycling program. Basically, we're just copying everything that Florida has done well to raise awareness and do what we can to get the monofilament line, either from nets or reels, off the beaches and out of the marine environment. So there are about 40 of these receptacles on beaches, docks, and piers in North Carolina. Too much information, but this just shows that we started this program in 2007, and as of beginning of this year, we've surpassed 3,000 miles estimated of collected and recycled fishing line. I hope it's helping. This is a necropsy. This was a floating dead dolphin in the Newport River, and you're looking at Gallant Channel now. This is near the drawbridge on the NOAA Lab property. Some very bright, talented people doing a necropsy. Cause of death. And if you don't look, you won't find it. Cause of death. Where did I put that thing? Can you tell what that? I'll put it against my shirt. Can you tell what that is? That is a stingray spine, and this dolphin died with a stingray spine in its heart. And there's a lot of scar tissue around the spine that literally cut off blood flow in the heart and presumably killed that dolphin. I don't like doing necropsies, but I am so grateful for these people who do them often and well with accuracy and talent. Stomach contents of one bottlenose dolphin. I don't want to lead you to believe this is typical. This is the most extreme case I've ever heard of, but you don't have to be a scientist to figure out what killed this one. And you see lens cap, cigarette lighter, lure, hook, pens, various pieces of shell and plastic. This is a very rare case of a harbor porpoise that came ashore alive in North Carolina, up in Corolla. And that's our colleague Ari standing there, who performed the necropsy. And the porpoise died on the beach. And in the stomach, he found this array of debris and no food. And he could actually read the wrappers on the candy of Blow Pops, Nerds, and Warhead candy, and 4 bird feathers that we don't think they eat birds. But I just show this so, you know, friends remind friends, parents remind kids, kids remind parents. The stuff that blows off our beach blankets or out of our boats may not be intentional, but it does impact protected marine wildlife. And I've shown you a few examples, but they're just horribly too many examples. I think all that's left is fun photos, if you're pacing yourself. But I want to see if there are any questions.
Okay, I actually have 2 questions so far. More might come in and a comment for you.
Cool.
So we have the first question is there a public list of the dolphins in and around the Beaufort Atlantic Beach area and how to identify them?
No, but Kim Urian, who I mentioned with Duke in the Mid-Atlantic Bottlenose Dolphin catalog, is trying to make all of our catalogs interactive and online. I don't know where she is in the process, it was launched and then it was taken down, so that if you see a dolphin and you say that might be onion, I'm going to go to that website. We're working on that. I would love that to happen. And if any of you are web geeks and want to come here and work with me to put all of our photos online, you got it. Let's do that. I think that'd be a lot of fun, educational, and high interest.
Okay, and the second question I have is, was the shark attack dolphin attacked while in Calico Creek or before moving into the creek?
Oh, you're a neighbor and you're scared. Don't know. Have no idea.
And we have a comment from somebody on Facebook, and just wanted to share it with you. It says, all I'm saying is that I am living for this webcast this morning. It is so great, from the host to the material. So
Oh, you're giving me
shout-out.
goosebumps. Okay, thanks. All right, we'll carry on. Here's a dolphin eating what we like to see them eat. It's probably a mullet, but they eat a huge variety. I mean, about anything they can swallow whole has been found on their stomachs. But this dolphin's eating this fish, grabbed it sideways, but it'll use its tongue and its mouth to flip it around and swallow it head first. They only eat what they swallow whole. This is a mom and her probably yearling dependent calf. Here's something I've never seen in North Carolina, but Lee Torres took this picture in Florida. It's called mud ring feeding, and it's collaborative feeding. Dolphins stir up the mud around a school of mullet, and these mullet in the air are really hoping to evolve into flying fish really fast. And the dolphins take turns waiting with an open mouth to catch them. How wild is that? I've not seen this in North Carolina. And this is something I've almost seen it in North Carolina, but predictably in South Carolina around Bolton Creek and a few other areas, people at Coastal Carolina University and others have documented dolphins that literally use an acoustic signal to collaborate to chase fish up the bank, and then they go up on the bank out of the water and catch the fish and wiggle back in the water with a meal. They tell me that they're, without exception, the dolphins are always on the right side. They are never on their left side, period. And this has been documented very well. Here's a local picture, probably a needlefish in the mouth of this, or one of those related fish in the mouth of this dolphin. This was in the Turning Basin. You often don't get to see this stuff. Occasionally you get lucky and get a photo. What is going on here? Jellyfish frisbee, anyone? This dolphin and others were repeatedly tossing these jellyfish, cannonball jellies. They weren't tossing them back and forth. Just one dolphin would toss it, chase it down, the same one down as far as I could tell, and toss it again over and over. Oh, there's another. We see this most years. I've never seen jellyfish in a dead dolphin's stomach. We've never seen bite marks on the jellyfish. Could it just be fun? What's wrong with that? Or is it a meal? Because if you get a good close look at one of these jellyfish in calm, clear water, without exception, pretty much without exception, you're going to see a community swimming around it of fish. I think these are triggerfish and other species I can't ID around one of those jellyfish. Further, and I don't feel their sting, I don't think the sting affects humans, but it probably protects these fish. If you pick one up gently and look inside the mantle, you will usually find one or zero, never two, little spider crabs, one spider crab, and fish inside the mantle of that jellyfish. So is it possible? Could it be that those dolphins are trying to get a snack by tossing these jellyfish? I don't know. All right, here's your final exam. What is that? What is in that bottlenose dolphin's mouth? If you told me this happened, I would have told you were mistaken. That is a stingray. It is upside down. It is going in the dolphin's mouth head first. It's a species of ray, I believe, that has a stinger. Is that dolphin stupid enough to swallow that whole thing, stinger and all? I don't know what's going on here. I do assure you, so I guess I do know what's going on. That entire thing went in the dolphin's mouth. And again, I wouldn't have believed it if you told me. Couple dolphins swimming over to the boat. Oh, right off the museum's watercraft center. This is a pair of dolphins. That's Duke Marine Lab in the background. Oh, look, he's a boy. Yeah, not sure. Anyway, I regress. The original and the best surfers. There's about 6 dolphins in a wave off Cape Lookout Lighthouse. Bow riding is a common behavior of bottlenose dolphins where they just surf on the pressure wave created by a boat going in the water. And this guy is enjoying the show. My good friend and volunteer Nelson Owens took this of bow riding dolphins from the bow of our research boat, Spy Hop. I love this photo. And I'm in the Bonehenge Whale Center, and construction and everything is finished. We are just waiting for water and sewer, so we are not open for public programming, besides this, or tours yet, but I hope we will be soon. And that is it, adjacent to the museum's Gallant Channel property, showing the new high-rise bridge in the background. That's what it looks like in the inside. Specimens we're working on and displays we've created. A lot of artwork. I'm not saying it's worth the trip, but if you happen to be at the neighborhood after dark, my friend John is putting the final touches on this bottlenose dolphin skeleton that we actually painted with glow-in-the-dark paint. And I mounted some black lights on the window frame. Right there's one, and they're all on a timer. And every sunset, it gets dark and the black lights come on, and it glows out the street side window of Bonehenge. So where can you see something like that? Anyway, that's a bottlenose dolphin. We named Shack because we found her on Shackleford Banks. Close up. Thanks for many collaborators who have helped with on the water, assisting, or with data or funding and everything I just described. And this isn't just, you know, a polite thank you. We do need each other and depend on each other regularly. And I'm proud to be part of such an organization or such a collaboration. And I've heard, and I've seen it on Facebook, so it's got to be true. If you are a North Carolina driver and you put one of these on your cars, not only will you look younger and sexier and your car will last longer and go faster, but you'll be supporting the work that I presented today, because we get between $8,000 and $11,000 a year from the Division of Motor Vehicles for those of us who have a Protect Wild Dolphins license plate on our cars. So thank you for those who did it, and consider it, please, if you haven't. The sunset photo. I hope I didn't ramble on too long. The end questions. I hope most of you survived. That was fun. It worked. Thank you, Christine.
It worked. And we do have a couple questions and comments I want to relay. So we have, we actually got 3 different comments from this one Facebook user, Lindsay. You might know her.
Oh, this is a heckle.
She says, hi, Dad. But she asked, do you think that the dolphin that swallowed the stingray was probably killed by that?
Yes, is the short answer. Veterinarians are very careful pointing to something as a cause of death, and they often use the terminology, this contributed to its death, because there might be other factors. But in the case of the stingray spine in the heart, it's an understatement to say that contributed to death, I believe. And we found other examples of stingray spines in a vital organ. If you go to the CMAS lab in Moorhead, there's a skeleton there, and we actually put the stingray spine in the skeletal display. Where was that spine found? In a lung. And they thought that it contributed to the cause of death. So short answer, yes. Thanks for asking.
And then I did want to pass along the comment we have here that someone posted, they love learning more and more each time with your lectures, and thank you for all you do for the Dolphins and educating us. Seeing a dolphin in Taylor's Creek never gets old.
I agree. I'm just as excited as you.
And another one says, thanks for sharing the information, Keith. Really incredible presentation. So a lot of happy people. And oh, and somebody posted that they do feel much cooler with their license plate.
Proof.
Yeah, it's on Facebook, like you said. And yeah, you have, and then the praises pouring in through the chat about thank yous and great information.
Oh, well, I enjoyed it. And
Oh, wait, one more question.
thanks.
How
Yeah.
has climate change impacted our North Carolina dolphin population and their food sources?
Thanks for asking. Keep asking. A lot smarter people than I are addressing that. It's going to just, the way science works, and it'll take a long time to really put a finger on cause and effect. We're seeing changes, but there are so many changes going on at once, and the cumulative impact of these changes. I'm talking about like pollution, virus, litter, and climate change. It is going to be very difficult to point to climate change as the cause of this effect. But again, smart people are working on it. I'm just as interested as you are. I don't know what it means, but about 5 years ago, we got a northern species called a white-beaked dolphin swim in, presumably Beaufort Inlet, strand itself on Sand Dollar Island in Beaufort, and die on the beach. That species had never been documented in North Carolina. It had never been documented this far south. So we're just collecting good data, and someone is going to look at it all and analyze it and try to relate it to possibly climate change. I hope that helps.
I think so. And I think that is the end of our questions so far. Yeah. So I'll relay any others that might get posted after we wrap up. But I do want to make a comment before we sign off that the next upcoming virtual presentation we have through the Maritime Museum will be on Thursday. That'll be by David Bennett. It'll be at 11 a.m. as well. And he will be giving a history of the shad and herring fisheries of the Albemarle Sound. He will be exploring the Hall Seine operations of the Albemarle Sound region from the mid-1700s to the 1930s. So, and if anybody's interested in joining for that one, they can request the link the same as they did for this one for Zoom, or watch it through Facebook Live. The Zoom links can be requested through the museum's website, ncmaritimemuseumbeaufort.com, where you would click on sign up for virtual programs under the museum at home. I know that was a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you. And any other questions or comments? Cool. Then Keith, thank you very much. As
Pleasure.
always,
Let's do it again.
Great presentation. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap it all up. Have a
All right.
great day.
Take care. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.